accidentally hit the stop button there. Anyway, um, I was trying to tell the story about 2.5 years ago. It seems like a lot longer than that, man. It seems a lot longer than that. And I don't. It seems like, from my calculations, January of 2021, but it doesn't seem to jive with other stuff. Anyway, could have been 2020. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, so January of a recent year, I'm in this place called Situ Sulot, which is a very small part or satellite extension of Ginbarokan and Antagapulan. And I'm there with Grace, and and of course I'm paying for everything against my will. Not really against my will, but the fact that I'm paying for everything is kind of against my will when people just expect me to pay for everything, and I had to because I'm the one with the money. So, and this is Antagapulan. It's nearby, Barangay. But you got to take a ferry to get there, or something, typically. And then we were there for a wake. And, my wife's, a relative in her family had passed away, and we're there for several days because of that. So, what's my point? The thing is, she starts giving me the cold shoulder, like she normally does. I'm not in the mood, or, she's just, But it felt serious, man. It felt really fucking serious. Like she didn't even want to be with me. She had to be with me because she's my wife, but she didn't have to have sex with me because why? She's not in the mood. Or not interested, obviously. So, for me, this is when it all fucking started. Everything went downhill, and it has been going downhill ever since. Like I said, I can't remember if it's January of 2021 or January of 2020, whatever the case is. I don't remember coronavirus at that time, so I don't remember if it didn't seem to be significant at that time because obviously they were free to travel. We were free to travel on me, and anyways, so she never had sex with me at that time. She was not interested. She was indifferent toward me. And the weird cool thing from my perspective is that some of the local youngsters actually were really, really friendly toward me. A group of 5 friends in Situ Sulot became my friends. Jeremy, a very, very sweet boy. Very, very, very. So my joke was, Jeremy, marry me, Not that I'm gay or anything, it's just he was so sweet to me. At a time when Grace it was more than just a cold shoulder, man. They were using me financially as a fucking ATM to finance the whole thing, attending the family wake. And that's not even the bad part. We'll get to the bad part later on. But the thing is, those 5 children, those 5 youngsters were so sweet to me, from age ranges maybe 6 or 7 to 12 or 13, something like that. So it was they were very, very sweet to me when Grace couldn't give a shit. Sarah Jean, Sarah May, Jeremy, and at least 2 others. And both male and female. And the sweetest one to me was Sarah Jean. She loved my attention. She soaked it up like a sponge, and we were happy and flirty, and it was just. We never did anything, overtly. Never did anything against Philippine culture, never did anything even against American culture, never broke any laws, and we were just really, really good friends in a time when I really needed it. So, what happened? Okay, later on, after we go back on me, and we pay, the owner of the house where we were staying on me, in Sulod, we get back to Manipis Norte, and I'm thinking like, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I not back there? What the fuck am I doing here? Nobody cares about me here. Nobody gives a shit about me here. Why am I not back there, where there's people that actually like me? So, basically, as I explained it, because Grace was, is more than just a cold shoulder, man. More than just a cold shoulder. It's like our relationship, our marriage was over, and she had, neglected to tell me, essentially. So what's my point? Well, I'm trying to tell a story that what happened afterwards. I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to go back because it's the only place where people cared about me and my feelings. It's the only place that's, where it seemed that people actually cared about me and my feelings. So I'm trying to go back to a place where, I don't have any land, I don't have any property, I have a few friends, Eventually I do make it back. Eventually I do make it back, man. Eventually I do make it back. And I'm staying in the pig house that my, what do you call it? Friends on, in that barangay, in that sub barangay of Sulod. Really good friends let me stay in their pig house. I had a little bit of money from Corona stimulus stuff. A little bit of money from Corona stimulus money. And so just a little bit. And I was trying to get help. Ostensibly, I was trying to get help to go to Masbate, where my boat had been blown by the wind southwest to Esperanza Masbate. Esperanza Masbate is where my boat had been blown by the wind while I was swimming for 8 hours trying to make it to Situ Sulod. That's another story. Okay, that's another story. But I'm jumping ahead because what? There I am in the pig house, pretty happy actually, and I have a device. I'm not unhappy, that's for sure. I'm not unhappy. Because I'm in a place where people actually care about my feelings. I'm in a place where people actually care about my feelings. The thing is, I couldn't get anybody to help me. When I tried to move or relocate with my own longboat, I hit a rock, lost my propeller, it disengaged it or decoupled it from the engine. It didn't really lose the propeller, but it decoupled it, and the boat started to sink, and I had to make a judgment call, swim or sink with the boat. At least that's the way it seemed to me. Sink with the boat or swim. And I ain't gonna sink with a boat, man. So I started, I grabbed a flotation device, one of the gasoline tanks, and I started swimming for 8 hours. Made it to a barangay nearby, Mataluto. Took me 8 hours to get there. And this is way before that, of course. Anyways, fast forward. I'm in a pig house, right, in Sulod, and I'm trying to get to Esperanza Masbate, where my boat had been blown over, and all my stuff, like papers, everything, birth certificate, everything, passport, everything was in Esperanza, and I had a little bit of money, and I thought, fuck, no one's gonna help me to get there. I have to do it by myself. So I jumped on there's an express ferry from Peña to Esperanza, there's an express ferry from Peña here, actually. There's an express ferry from here to Masbate. So I jumped on that, even still had enough money to, what I mean is even to go past that and get my stuff from the Esperanza Police Department. Made it down there on the back of a motorcycle. I mean, it was serendipitous in a sense, and it's beautiful. Masbate is incredibly beautiful. But I didn't have money. I didn't have money to stay. I was just passing through getting my stuff. The thing is, after I got my stuff and go back to Sulod, everything changed. Everything had changed. Because I had replanted some mangroves around the little pig house, and I was getting settled in, man. I was getting settled in. I go away to get my stuff from Esperanza, come back a couple days later, really optimistic. I mean, I was making a video for my friend. Really optimistic on the top of the ferry. Super optimistic. Making a video for my friend on the top of the ferry as I was going back to Sulod. I got the Capitan to drop me off in Ginbarokan, and I made it back over to Sulod. And everything had changed. They uprooted my mangroves. They disrespected my mangroves, my little mangrove seedlings that I had transplanted around the pig hut. I'm like, wow, it's like, thank you, not. So, I'm like, what the fuck, man? I didn't feel, especially, welcome after that, I felt dissed, man. I felt fucking dissed. So, my only alternative, I felt like at that point, was move over to Ginbarokan proper. I'm not sure. Hold on a second. No, by that time, I'm not sure. I'm a little confused here. I can't remember. See, at some point, I was in the quarantine facility. My buddy, who was the barangay Capitan, let me stay in the quarantine facility, but I can't remember if that was at that time or prior to that. Anyways, I ended up back, over in Ginbarokan proper, and that's when, I mean, this is when the serious nightmare shit happened. You have to understand that I spent some time in Makati, about 5 months, begging Grace that I can go back, but she wouldn't let me because she's got a boyfriend. And so there's a lot of really confusing events for me because, I know it really happened. It really happened. It just gets jumbled up, in the timeline. So anyways, I'm back in, from that point on, at some point, I end up in this thing called Research Station number 1. And I'm trying my best to do what I consider naturalist research, on these cotton trees. And nearby goats are eating my plants, and they just won't, I don't know, and I'm trying my best to sort of fit in, because there are three church groups. There was Catholic Church. This is in Ginbarokan proper. Catholic Church Bible study group, headed by Larry and his wife, and then a church, a brand new church up on the hill near the elementary school, who a friend of mine was administrator of, Rowena Baltazar. Nearby that school, nearby the elementary school in Ginbarokan, up on the hill, is the Forever Praise Church. Forever Praise, which is a denomination, but seems to be local to the Tagapulan, with the mother church in Labang Baybay. All right, so I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best to participate. I'm going to church meetings. Forever Praise and Labang Baybay and stuff. Trying to be a part of that group. As a believer, I'm trying my best to be a part of that. And that part was lovely. Attending church in Labang Baybay, the Forever Praise, and also in Pulang Bato. It was lovely. It was absolutely very, very lovely. Wherever I would go and attend Forever Praise, it was lovely. Whether it's Labang Baybay or Ginbarokan or Pulang Bato, it was lovely. But outside of that, outside of those attendances, it gets a little messy. Not so easy to cope with. A friend of mine, I really am not, I'm not inclined to spend any time verbally on Ginbarokan, because it's just, it's a freaking nightmare, okay? It's a freaking nightmare. Moving on, I spent some time, 1 week in there later on in, as I mentioned, Pulang Bato, with the Forever Praise Church there. And the pastor was a woman. Her nickname is Bebe, and we became friends. And she taught me, or she re-educated me about a lot of important things about the Bible. The thing is, there was some, a little bit of intrigue associated with that. We both liked each other. She's a good age for me. Although, at that time I was thinking, I would still like to have maybe one more child, and she was beyond that age. Very attractive woman. Spiritually very, very positive, very, with what's the word, not authoritarian, anyway, she was very, it's not authoritarian. Anyways, there's a word that what I'm trying to express is like authoritative. She's very authoritative. She knew a lot about the Bible. She was really good with people, very, very good with people, especially in Pulang Bato, which is on the east side of the island of Tagapulan. And a very good friend of mine. like I said, she did help me relearn a lot about the Bible. Help me remember a lot of stuff that I had learned before but had forgotten. The thing is, they teased me back in Barokan, So I heard you're married to Bebe, and I'm like, oh my God. We're just friends, man. We're brother and sister in Christ, man. We're just friends. We're brother and sister in Christ, man. Anyways, it was a little hard to live that down. And, I'm sure it was just teasing. After 1 week in Pulang Bato with Bebe, like a brother sister in Christ relationship. After 1 week, I did end up going back, like relocating to Pulang Bato for a number of weeks, perhaps several months. And I felt that was the place I should sort of settle down in. I mean, at that time, I had given up on the idea of going back to the States. At that time, it was not even in my mind about going back to the States. At that time, I was going to be here forever. And I mean, in the Philippines, and I might as well make the best of it. So I was thinking, I heard about that it costs a certain amount of money for, a caribou, their version of a cow, with the horns. Americans might call it water buffalo. Anyways, the caribou, I heard that it cost around $7,000 or $8,000 to get one and start a calf and start caribou farming. And I had $7,000. I thought and someone told me, well, it cost $8,000. And then they told me 15. And then they told me 25. And I'm like, what's the real price, man? What's the real price? That Filipinos pay. When I was in Pulang Bato, all I could think about was having my own little place to sleep, just a place to sleep, and take care of my caribou. That's it. If I could get one for a decent price, and be up there on the hill, talk with God, be up there on the hill, and maybe have a battery for power and one small device so I could, check online, since there was signal at the top of the hill. Probably from Calbayog. And you can see the ridge. You can see the ridge from here. I mean, if on a clear day, you can see that ridge where I wanted to live. And I had permission from the locals. I had permission to be up there. I had permission to even make a little sleep hut. It would have been a task, but it was possible. So in my mind, I had it, like what? I mean, it was like, okay, I-10 Forever Praise. Mixed with the locals as best as I can. I mean, there was like a guy right next to Forever Praise that was my friend, or seemed to be my friend. He said I could put, like a shack, a lean-to on his house, or right next to his house. So it seemed like, it was possible, to have a decent existence, My meals, they were provided by locals, not necessarily associated with Forever Praise, other denominations. Yeah, that's another story. Yeah, so some of the food came from, like for instance, a woman affiliated with a church in Baguio, a Pentecostal church in Baguio, believe it or not. And her father or father-in-law was pastor of a Pentecostal church in Baguio, which is further west, southwest on Tagapulan. And they wanted me to come and visit there, so I did. But I felt it was against my will, and that I just was not meant to be there. I just felt it was not very good timing. So at some points, it felt like I was being fought over, like like a prize, like let's get this foreigner here. He can help us. He's good for visibility. It makes us look good. He's a feather in our cap. He helps. He's going to help the congregation. It makes the congregation. It validates the congregation. Whatever church it is. Whether it's Forever Praise Pulang Bato, or Forever Praise in Ginbarokan, or Forever Praise in Labang Baybay, or Pentecostal in Labang Baybay, or yeah. When I was there for about 1 week in Baguio, which is a pretty large commercial center in Tagapulan, not far from like the administrative headquarters, and it's got an actual highway or road between the administrative headquarters and that barangay, Baguio. So it's quite mobile, even though it's island based. Everybody's got a motorcycle. Not everybody, a lot. There's a lot of motorcycles. There's a lot of foreigners there. So what? I found out there's this church. There's like about 11 or 12 churches there in that barangay, Baguio. One of the churches was actually run by a relative of the pastor of the Pentecostal group, the Church of End Times. I'm like, mental note, I got to go visit and talk with that guy. I never did, but I wanted to. I mean, as I tell the story, what it should show the listener is that here in the Philippines, it's incredibly diverse, right? In terms of denominations and stuff, it's incredibly diverse. It's not just the Catholic Church. There's an incredible number of diversity of churches and people, and everyone with their own sort of agenda. One of the things that sort of stands out for me of Pulang Bato, which actually stimulated me to leave, there's a woman, a beautiful, like maybe around 30-ish, beautiful 30-ish woman, real beautiful, real attractive, real sweet to me. And she said to me one morning, "I dreamed about you, I miss you." And I'm like, okay, that's really, really nice. This is what I'm thinking. It's really, really nice, but I need to get the fuck out of here because you are fucking married, lady. You are married, okay? And I need to get the fuck out of here. So, anyway, the thing is, man, one of my best friends in Pulang Bato, he was a barangay secretary, And at the same time, this dude was taking as much as he could from the local reef. And the local reef was one of the most beautiful, pristine reefs I've ever seen in my life. The local reef was one of the most beautiful, pristine reefs I've ever seen in my life. And he was taking everything he could to sell. And I wanted to help the guy, not that I wanted to help him rape the reef. I just thought if I could help him, I'd fulfill a function, and and then, I wouldn't be such a dead weight, and I could try to carry my own through his business, his rape the reef business. Even though, philosophically, emotionally, and everything, and spiritually, and everything else, I disagreed with the whole thing. Well, he already had a partner, so yeah, he didn't need me. And his wife, Vina, was number 2 in the Forever Praise Church in Pulang Bato, so she's got that covered. I felt like they didn't really need me, especially her husband. Her husband didn't need me for his, rape the reef thing. They didn't really need me in Forever Praise and Pulang Bato either, because Vina had it covered. While my baby was north with her son. So I mean, I don't know if you're having trouble following. I'm not trying to confuse. I'm trying to elucidate and and tell the story. With minimal encumbrances and minimal obfuscations, and just try to relate the facts so that you can understand that there's a lot of people that wanted to interact with me in positive ways. Hey Sam, sit down and have some drinks, like with the barangay. I'm trying to think in Pulang Bato. Barangay Capitan, a relative, a friend of the Barangay Capitan. Anyways, it seems invariably I would, make friends with either the Barangay Capitan himself or relatives of the Barangay Capitan, like in Pulang Bato. And it was nice. It was nice to spend that kind of quality time with them. But whether or not I could ever be a permanent part of their group was something else. I mean, in terms of mate, now if Bebe was my wife, it would be a done deal. Or if I was brother to one of my besties there, a Pat, a lesbian Pat, who is, it's just one of my best friends there. She owned, I think she owned 3 cattle, 3 caribou. A very, very good, extremely good woman, and it's just intuitively, I don't know, it's just, she gave me some clothing, brand new stuff, right out of her Sari Sari. I'm like, I didn't even ask for it. And she just showed such kindness toward me. We had this instant bond, this instant friendship. And I thought, if I could only get 1 cattle to add to your group, if I could just get 1 cattle, 1 caribou to add to your group, then we'd have a business together. It didn't seem to materialize. Like I said, the price tag went from $7,000 or $8,000 to $25,000, and I never got a solid figure about what the actual price tag for a baby caribou calf cost. Well, others suggested goats. I was like, fuck, man. I tried goats, man. Goats are susceptible to the rain, man. If they get sick, if they get too much rain, and if they're not taken care of, they can easily die from exposure. I tried goats in Tamaripis Norte, man. It's not easy, man. Goats are not easy. So anyway, there's a part of me that thought that I could, if I was going to be stuck in the Philippines forever, and I was and I could choose anywhere in Tagapuan, maybe Pulang Bato, maybe Pulang Bato. If I could have my own, one or two goats, ideally a caribou, but if not a caribou, then a male and female goat, I don't want to stay in the church. I was sleeping in the church in the Forever Praise Church. One of my shaver devices got broken, and it had trouble recharging, and due to neglect, or one of the patrons of the church knocked it down, and it fell down and broke. Then they didn't care. Gee, thanks, lady. Gee, thanks. Well, initially, the children are insanely in love with me. Okay, initially, the children, the young ones are insanely in love with me. Initially, wherever I go, it's typical. The young ones or the children are insanely in love with me. And we bond, and I call them, there's an expression, love buckets. We bond, and it's in this insane, indescribable bond, emotional bond that we have. Of course, it lessens over time. The thing is, initially, it's the most powerful thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's like, for instance, the only thing that comes to mind right now is imagine your first baby. Imagine your first baby, as a human, your first baby, male or female, and you realize this is your first child, and it could be your last. This is your first child, and it could be your last. And that baby needs you as much as it needs its mom, right? As much as it needs suckling and nourishment, it needs you as a father. And there's no words to describe that bond between you and that child, that baby. And that's kind of what I felt in nearby. There's a mission church here in Peña. There's a mission church on the east side of town. And I met some youngsters, some young ladies, and my friend Michael, one of his daughters, the lesser attractive of his two daughters. They're almost like twins. She bonded with me, and when our eyes locked, I mean, it was just, what do you call it? Pure love, man. Pure love. Pure love. So there's a lot of beautiful things in my experiences that, what do you call it, for me was real, okay? It's not delusional. It actually really happened. Sort of the other crappy stuff. I try to forget the crappy stuff. I guess both happen. anyway, I'm going to try later to get this stuff posted on YouTube. Hopefully the piece of Wi-Fi will be, whatever the problem is, right? I couldn't connect. So hopefully by now it'll be corrected. I'm going to have a little snack here off microphone. There's a movie with Reese Witherspoon I'm trying to get, but I may not be able to get it anyways. I would used to say, may God bless or Godspeed. I don't necessarily believe in those and all the implications that go with that stuff, but the sentiments are still there. The sentiments are still there. If I said, if you can understand, whether it's you're Islamic or Jewish or Christian or atheistic, if you can somehow take what I'm about to say and translate it to your belief system, may your God bless you. May your God bless you. And for astronauts, it'd be Godspeed.